Those are the top stories. Now let's focus on this story. The Public Enterprises Department has offered final voluntary severance packages to SAA employees. This includes 1 week pay for per year of completed service, 1 month notice pay, accumulated leave paid out, a 13th check, and a top-up of severance packages. This would also be supported by a social plan which includes skills development programs. SAA's business rescue practitioners have scheduled a creditors meeting for today to vote on the plan. A vote in favor of the plan will see it implemented immediately, or a vote against would result in the liquidation of the airline. This will then mean a maximum amount of 32,000 rand per employee if there are funds available once the final liquidation has been approved. And this can take up to 2 years. And now, the meeting of SA's creditors going ahead today. Yesterday, the court dismissing an attempt by Airlink to halt the vote on SAA's business rescue plan. My colleague, ENCA reporter, watching the business world, monitoring the SA developments, joining us now from our newsroom. Heidi Jerkos. Good morning, Miss Jerkos. The creditors meeting going ahead today. What can we expect?
Yes, indeed, Mardan. So yesterday we saw an attempt by Airlink trying to halt that creditors meeting, and ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to have creditors, unions, staff of SAA, as well as any other stakeholders or affected parties voting on that business rescue plan. We must remember that the business rescue plan took about 5 months to be implemented, or rather to be published by the business rescue practitioners, and there were 5 extensions granted to the business rescue practitioners. So today the creditors and all affected parties will be given an opportunity to vote on whether or not they accept the plan as is, or whether they are going to ask the business rescue practitioners to amend certain aspects or elements of that plan. And if it's voted, if 75% of all affected parties, specifically creditors, vote in favor of that plan, it will be adopted and implemented by the business rescue practitioners, and they will go forward implementing all the elements in that business rescue plan.
Now, was there jumping off a gun somewhat by the department in announcing those voluntary severance packages in a statement, as we've just outlined a short while ago? Or should that have waited for this meeting today to take place first? Or is that part of the same process?
I think to a certain extent, perhaps, it was jumping the gun, because the creditors are going to need to vote on whether or not they accept that business rescue plan, as well as unions. Unions have time and time again been very vocal about not accepting the mass retrenchment that SAA has tried to embark on. This was last year as well, when we saw the unions going on that massive strike, or workers going on that massive strike in December. And again, the unions have indicated they are not going to accept the massive job cuts at the airline. So perhaps the department did jump the gun slightly, but they are trying to rather push workers to say, accept this plan, because if this plan is not accepted, the airline is going to go into liquidation. There is no other option, and it's going to be very difficult for workers to get anything above 32,000 rand, despite the number of years in service at the airline. So it's still very unclear why the department indicated this to workers, but perhaps they are just trying to point out a scenario to workers to say, if you don't accept this plan and these job cuts with this specific package, the airline's going to be liquidated and there's going to be a bigger problem.
Yeah, we're trying maybe to influence the voting today in some way, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. But where is this money coming from? I mean, yesterday, Tito Mboweni telling Parliament very clearly that there will be no other SOE, that no SOE except the Land Bank is going to be getting any money. So this money is going to come from where? Exactly.
Such a key point. The big question is, where is this money going to come from? And yesterday in the briefing where we tried to pose these questions to Finance Minister Tito Mboweni about where is the money going to come from for SAA, he quickly dismissed that question and said all those questions need to be posed to the Department of Public Enterprises. When we did so, the department says they'll revert back, and then that statement came out to say that workers are encouraged to take up those VSPs because they are not going to get more than 32,000 Rand if the airline is liquidated. So the Finance Minister, the numbers man, is saying there is no money for any other state-owned entity other than the Land Bank, and given the current financial trouble that the country faces, it's going to be very difficult for any other SOE to get any kind of funding. So perhaps that will be indicated in the creditors' meeting today, but the BRPs have expressed time and time again that they are in need of financial assistance from the department, from government.
Ms. Jokos, thank you very much. Now, I've just learned of a new acronym, VSP, Voluntary Severance Package, in other words. Thank you very much. Heidi Jokos there, tracking that story. We'll have to wait and see what the vote will determine.